everyone. Mohit sir, please take a snapshot. Mohit sir, done?
Just a minute.
Okay.
Done, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone. So let me start this session. Welcome, ma'am, and welcome to all of you. On behalf of Matrix Schools of Management Studies, I, Dr. Harshali Gomase, welcome our honorable guest, Dr. Gauri Joshi, ma'am, and the students of Matrix MBA first year and second year students for a session on research methodology under the 4th dimension lecture series, which we have started for the students from last year under the guidance of our honorable director, Dr. Satish Ubade sir. The main objective to start the 4th dimension lecture series is to improve knowledge of students and also feel free to communicate and interact with our speaker. Dear students, Dr. Gauri Joshi madam completed her MBA from Savitribai Phule Pune University with specialization in marketing. After that, madam has done her PhD in marketing from Symbiosis International Deep University Pune. Madam has 10 years experience in academic. Currently, madam is working with Symbiosis Center for Management and Human Resource Development, Pune. The area of specialization in consumer behavior, energy and environment, research methodology, business research method, and marketing simulations. Madam is a guide at Symbiosis University, as well as member academic of International Business, member of Association of Consumer Research, and member of Marketing Science Institute. Madam has published various papers in national and international conferences. So, students, without waste of your time, I request to our honorable guest to take the charge of the session. Ma'am, over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harshali. That was indeed a very heartening introduction to myself. And I'm thankful to Matrix Institute for giving me this opportunity to conduct a session. Thank you so much, students, that on a Saturday morning, all of you are here. And I'm sure the session will be of some help to you. So, okay, without further ado, let's start the session. The session is going to be on research methods. I'll just share my screen. Right. Are you all able to see my screen? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So as Harshali madam just said, the session is going to be on research methods. So I have just collected different aspects on how research is conducted in these days. So you have a person here with all these data kind of things, the laptop, the SSRN network. I'm sure you all are aware of SSRN, the Social Science Research Network. That's the SSRN. And here are just some students like you who are doing the research. So before moving further on to this research method and understanding what this research is about, let's go to our daily life. Let's think on how we take decisions. And I would like all of you to actively participate in this and give me answers to some of these pictures that I'm going to show you. Okay, so let's see how do you decide on the following situations. I hope all of you are with me. I don't expect a camera, but you could give me an emoji. If you understand, give me a thumbs up. That should be fine. All of you are with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Good, great. Let's see how you decide in the following situations. Your first situation is, how do you decide when you're choosing a vacation destination? I'm sure most of you go on vacations with your families, friends, peer groups. So how do you decide on a destination?
First thing, depending on the climate.
Okay, so climate. Then?
Where we wish to go, like which is on our wish list.
Okay, destination. Where do you want to go? Correct. Yes, I think there are 47 of you, right? So I would request the rest of you also to actively participate. It will be a boring session if I just keep talking. Right, what about the rest? Just destination, climate, then?
Depends upon interest.
Very good, depends upon interest. If you could just give me your name when you're answering the question, that would be great.
Harshal Soshi.
Okay, Harshal Joshi. So depends on your interest. Where do you want to go? Theme park or beach or mountain or where? Correct. Depends on your interest. Good. So we have come up with 3 points. We have come up with the climate. We have come up with the destination. We have come up with interest. Then what else? I hope you guys go on vacation, right?
Aniket Zamdade, depending
Okay.
upon budget.
Depending on the
Budget.
budget. Very good. The budgetary constraints. How much have you allocated? Very good. Good point. Okay, so now you've got these 4 points. You have got the interest, you have got the destination, the climate, and the budget. What is the process that you generally follow? What is the process that you follow? How do you decide that, okay, if I want to go to say Goa, a favorite destination, what is the process you follow? How do you go about it?
After having a plan,
Yes, Deepika. So what is the plan? Like, how do you plan is what I'm interested in knowing.
like for how many days we will be going, how we will be traveling, where we will be staying, and how many destinations we will be covering over there, timings, points.
Excellent, excellent. This is what I was looking out for. How many of you will be going and the various points which Deepika mentioned. Very good, Deepika. Like which are the destinations? How are you going to cover them? Are you going to take your own car? Are you going to rent a car over there? Are you going to fly from here to Goa? Very good. So remember all these points, okay? We will move on to the next one now. All of you, I'm sure all of you possess different kinds of smartphones. So when you're choosing a smartphone, what do you usually decide? How do you decide that? You want an iPhone, you want a Redmi, you want a OnePlus, you want a Samsung. How do you decide on that? How do you choose a smartphone?
Depend on their features.
Very good, depending on the features. Only features?
Depend on its camera features.
Okay, so camera is
Depending
also
on the
different.
needs.
Very good. Who is that?
Shantanu ma'am.
Shantanu. Very good, Shantanu. Depending on your needs. What are your needs
Depends
on a smartphone? Correct.
Depends on price and budget.
Again, very good. Budget comes here again. As much as your needs are, so also is your budget. How much are you willing to spend for the phone? Very good. And then how do you go about buying it?
By comparing on various websites and shops, offline and online.
Very good, Deepika.
Firstly, we categorize the phones, then we distribute them as a price in a pricing line. Then we see what's the features are in the comparative phones. Then we
Correct.
choose the main outline.
Correct. And then you also choose the place, right? Where you want to buy online, offline, Vijay Sales,
place.
Chroma. Where do you want to buy? You choose the place also. Very good. I guess you guys are more into buying a smartphone than going on a vacation. So many replies came in when I asked for smartphone, isn't it? The last one is very interesting. All of you are into this wonderful institute. How did you went about choosing this institute?
ROI of that institute. Commonly
Very good.
thought of.
ROI of that institute commonly thought of. Then it was Pranjal, right, who just said ROI of the institute?
Yes.
Yes, good. So Pranjal, right, ROI of the institute. How do you go about it? That okay, you came into Matrix. I don't know if all of you are localites or are you from different parts of the country or different parts of the state?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you choose?
Ma'am, first thing based on the percentile.
Percentile. Perfect.
CET
So that was the
percentage.
qualifying criteria. Okay, correct. CET percentage. Then what were the steps? How did you go about it?
Then we have some information about the institute, like how the institute is most.
Correct. Correct. You check out the institute's information. You check the faculty information. You check the location. Where is the institute located?
Firstly, we see the location, then affiliation,
Correct. Correct.
then we see the
Very good. So
universities level,
Affiliation.
then educational institute level, then what is the segment it is good for the special.
good. Good. Very nice.
Distance from home.
Distance from home, true. So you have multiple indicators. So all of this, you don't sit one day and think and just get it admitted yourself, right? Be it your vacation, be it choosing your smartphone, or be it choosing your MBA institute. It doesn't happen overnight that you have just sat one fine day in the evening and thought about, okay, this is things I want to do. I want to go to this spot, or I want to buy this phone, or I want to pursue MBA here. It's a process. And all in all, what have you done in this? Any idea? The factors which you considered here, if you were to sum it up, you considered the cost factor. Isn't it budget when you said? You considered the cost factor. Then you considered the time factor. In what time? How long are you going for the vacation? How quickly do you want to buy a smartphone? When do you want to pursue the MBA? This year, next year? So the time is also very important. Then your features. What all the attributes are you looking into the product while buying the product? What are the features when you're looking into when you're going to a destination? Are you going to a hill station? Then are you going to see snow over there? Is all the factors that you're going to look into consideration. And finally, the location. Where is it situated? Where are you going to buy the phone from? Or which is the destination that you would like to go? Where is the college located? Isn't it, to sum it up to all the questions that I had asked, to all the places, all the decisions that you took, these 4 things are what sums it up. Am I right? Are you all with me?
Yes.
Good, great. So in short, what you all did was, you did nothing but you researched. You found about all the important aspects which you deemed important, all the important attributes which you felt a product should have, a service should have, or an educational institute should have, and you found more about it. They were already existing, but you searched more about them and you came up with this, whichever product, whichever phone that you choose, whichever destination you wish to go, and the college that you are in right now. You took a decision based on whatever information that you gathered. All this was nothing but summing up of nothing but your research. So when you did this at an individual level, it was pretty simple. You had stakeholders like your parents. At times you had to take loans, so you had bank as your stakeholder. Not many people were involved into it. But all of these changes, all of your management students, and I'm sure you know when a company takes a decision, it needs to take it on such a large scale. Let's look at some company problems now. Some business problems. Have you heard of a company named Fresh to Home? Yes, Fresh to Home, a newly launched startup. Have you heard about it? Okay, have you heard about Licious?
Yes.
Licious, you have heard, right? This is
Yes.
similar. This is a competitor to Licious, who is in the same business as Licious is. They provide fresh meat cuts, prawns, fish, chicken, mutton, and the other kinds of meat directly to home. So if Fresh to Home has to decide that it has to target 160 new cities in a country like us, what is it going to do? It just cannot go on the audience poll that, okay, now let's see how many people are there in different cities, whether we'll be preferred or not in different cities, which cities have different cultural nuances. So this is one of the problems which Fresh to Home has. How are they going to target 160 new cities? This is a reference I have given you so that you could refer to this article in case you wish to refer. And I hope all of you read the Mint newspaper. It's a very nice paper by the Hindustan Times. So the reference is the big fish. The second question, will the SUV rush eventually impact WagonR? Maruti's small segment car, small SUV, WagonR. Now you see Tata coming into the same field, you see Kia coming into it, you see Mahindra coming into it. So are these competitors going to impact WagonR's segment? Is what Maruti is intending to analyze. The next problem is just recent one in day before yesterday's paper. Now the Khadi market wants to make their presence felt just like the different apparels are making their presence felt on Myntra. Khadi market also wants to go online on Myntra. So what is it planning to do? It does not want to increase the prices, but it wants to have a sale on the online marketplaces. So what is it going to do? So when the point of showing you all these problems is, research is not isolated only to say scientists doing a research or mathematicians doing a research or medical field doing a research. Research is everywhere. You open the newspaper, you get multiple problems which require research. And as management students, we should be aware of the fact that we would be taken up by the companies if we are able to solve some problem of theirs. If we are able to research, if we are able to give good inputs to them based on our understanding of research, based on our inputs, based on our fresh insights, this is where we'll be chosen by the companies. So all in all these problems require nothing but solutions to all of this, and hence they require research. So that is the relevance of research in our daily life and as a management student. Am I clear? Did you all understand this point? You could just give me a thumbs up. I'm fine with that. Good. So moving on from here, let's now go ahead and understand what are we going to do in today's session. This is some quotes which I thought would be useful, that research is what everybody else has seen, but doing what nobody else has thought is nothing but your research. When companies come up with new startups, when Fresh to Home, everyone knew there is Licious, but no one thought they would give a competition to Licious, but Fresh to Home's entrepreneur who thought that, yes, let me do it. Happilo, another company which is into this dry fruits market. So when everybody else has seen, but nobody else has thought about it, that's nothing but your research. It's curiosity, it's poking, and it's prying with a purpose. Why are things happening the way they're happening? Why is it that all these while when Khadi market was lying low, suddenly now why is it that it is wanting to take upscale itself? Why is it that it wants to compete? You need to have that innate curiosity in you to understand why the things happening around you in the manner that they are happening. What is going to be the impact of all of this? What is going to be the impact of the different political, socio-economical, financial factors that we read every day in the paper? How is it going to impact your life? I'm saying particularly your life because all of you are going to be management trainees or management interns in some time, and understanding these current affairs and being aware of all of that is going to help you in a lot of ways. You'll understand what are the kind of problems companies are facing and how are you going to pitch in and help them resolve those problems. Okay. So what are we going to do in today's session? We are going to understand the relevance and role of research in management. How is research important in management? We're going to understand the different kinds of research. What is it that the management research field of management requires? The research is of different kind. We're going to overview the research process. We are just going to have an overview of that. We are going to see the research applications in business. How are they applied in our daily life? In the newspapers that you read and see. What are the features of a good research study? And finally, I have designed an activity for you, which we will do at the end of the session. So now moving ahead from here, any doubts here so far?
No.
We'll go ahead?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. Let's move on to understanding the role of relevance of research. What do you mean when you say research? Any cues? What do you mean when you say research?
Like searching again if we go by word.
Correct. True. If you go by simply, literally, if you go, it is nothing but searching again, which means you're not inventing anything new. You're not discovering anything like Columbus, but you are searching something which someone has left unsearched. It is already existing, but they haven't scratched the surface enough to unearth it or to come up with a new dimension to it. And you're giving it another look at it. So it's nothing but a researching. So it's a sustainable pillar of every discipline, from science to cinema to fashion. Everything needs research. Any example where in cinema do you need research? Yes, apart from those who are answering, I would like the others also to answer. So apart from Pranjal, Harshal, Shantanu, Deepika, the rest of you who are there here. I think there are quite many of you, 68 of you are here, right? Great. So any example of you come across in cinema where do you need research? Or you don't watch cinemas?
We research about films, directors, production.
Right. The film itself requires a lot of research. Like if you have a film like Razi or if you have a historical film, correct. It requires a lot of research into it. How are you going to have a set? How are you going to have the costumes depicting the era of those bygone times? How are you going to have the actors speaking the language that was spoken during that time. All of this requires research, right? And as I think Deepika rightly said, research is to examine again, literally. It's to search again. A very important and crucial definition, which all the management students, which all of you need to remember, is management research. It is an unbiased, structured, and sequential method of inquiry. I specifically underline these words unbiased, structured, and sequential so as to remember that these are the three words which constitute the entire management research. Your research cannot be biased because otherwise then you will have dubious findings. If you are researching, say, the competitors for Parle-G in the market, and then if you come in the favor of that case, there are no competitors for Parle-G in the market. That's not fair because then the company is losing out on who are its competitors and how better it should build its brand. It needs to be structured. It cannot be haphazard. It cannot be random. You just can't start collecting data from people by giving them some random questionnaire or asking them questions. It needs to be structured. Your problem needs to be identified first. And finally, it needs to be sequential method of inquiry towards a clear implicit or explicit business objective. Take the instance of the first two slides where you chose a tourist destination, where you choose a cell phone, where you chose an MBA college. All of them are personal objectives. We are not concerned here with personal objectives. We are management students, so we are concerned here with business objectives. Yes, Rupali, you had something? Yeah, any doubts here?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, so remember these three very carefully: unbiased, structured, and sequential method of inquiry. What is it directed towards? Towards solving an implicit or explicit objective. At times, the objective would not be very straightforward. Like if Parle-G wants to increase its sales, it's a very straightforward objective. How is it that I'm going to increase Parle-G sales in the market? What is the plan that I'm going to have? How many SKUs I'm going to supply? It's very, very clear. But at times, it's more than that. If I have a new biscuit company and I want to create a reputation in the market, I need to use some explicit manner. I need to give away some free samples. I need to see how people are reacting to that. So both the times the objective, every time the objective might not be implicit, it could be an explicit objective also. And what does this inquiry lead to? All of this that we are doing, we are examining again, we are doing a structured inquiry. It leads to arriving at new theories or coming up with some new postulates. But okay, probably this already existed in the market, but when I searched it, I found that there exists a new segment in the market, or there exists a new way of doing the things, or the omni-channel. Initially, we were so focused on going to brick and mortar stores, but then come COVID, we all shifted to digital medium. But now companies have realized that they just cannot choose only one particular medium, that either I'll be online or I'll be offline. You need to be present everywhere because the customer is everywhere. So that's nothing but you are validating an existing postulate or coming up with the new theory with your research. And that's the beauty and relevance of your research. It helps you to give a new dimension to whatever activity you have chosen. So far, so good. Should we move on to the next one? Right. Okay. Now tell me, why should we research? Let me get it from you now. I've been talking for quite a while. Why should we research now?
For business purpose, to
Very good. Good.
find, like, for business purpose, to be specific, like to make our product more attractive in the market and where we can sell more. That is the main strategy for research. Like
Very
how
good.
we can be different from others, what are the price going on, what is the
Very
need
good. What
to
will be
buy.
your USP? How could your brand be differentiated from the others? How could you have a good brand name so that people remember? Greater retention, greater loyalty among customers. Very good. Yes, Shantanu, you're saying something?
No, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Yes. So apart from that, anything else? But that's Deepika just spoke about the marketing part of it. Like how could you have a USP? How could your brand be visible? How could you have a good marketing strategy? Are you all only specializing in marketing?
No, finance.
No, that's right. So you have research in every field, right? So if you could tell from that perspective also, the different perspectives, different streams of management. You have HR, you have operations.
For society also most important, like what
Societal
society
aspect.
requires, what
Correct,
it is
correct.
expecting.
Correct. Yes, so why research? If you see no particular purpose for researching, good, then your session is done for today. You can say bye to
To
Harshali.
come to one of the particular solution which we have not come across till now.
To find the answers of our question on a particular data.
Can you give me a question, Shantanu? Which specialization are you from?
Actually, I am from finance one.
Great. So in finance, could you give me one instance where you would like to research? Capital markets,
Actually,
investments.
I am researching on financial engineering. So I'm
Okay.
launching another question paper, research paper on it.
Okay.
So
So what is your question?
actually,
What is your research question and what are you researching on?
the main fundamentals of an objective of financial engineering, because there is no fundamentals of those topics. That's why.
Okay, great. So he's researching on fundamentals of financial engineering because there is a dearth of topic in that area. That's a good area to be in. So you also research because people haven't worked on it. People haven't done a large amount of studies into it or come up with a new theories on a particular aspect. So that's the reason one needs to research.
Yes, yes.
Correct. So when you say why research, most of the times you would have heard this, that I have an intuition, you see, gut feel पे जाना चाहिए. My gut feel says ये ठीक नहीं है. Not, I'm not going to invest in these shares. Gut feel नहीं है. So isn't that intuition enough? It is not, because you cannot measure gut feel, and everybody differs in their gut feels. My gut feel would not be same as Shantanu's or Deepika's or Harshali ma'am's. Everyone will have a different gut feel, and that's not the way things have to be, right? If I have to measure popularity of a brand, if I have to measure the popularity of a particular investment share or a blue chip company, it needs to be uniform for everybody. If it has to be listed on the stock prices, everybody should have the same information from it, and it should not be based on anybody's gut. Yeah, that I felt very strongly about him, that's why I invested into it. So gut feel isn't measurable, and that's the reason we need to research. Then doubt, it's better than overconfidence. Okay, I have a doubt that how good is this product going to make well in the market? Or I have a doubt how much is this work from home strategy in HR going to work in future? So if I have a doubt, let's have a research into it. Let's inquire more about it. Let's seek people's opinion on it. That are you comfortable working from home? Do you like coming to office? Or is this work from home the new trend? So instead of having a doubt and then, in a sense, clarifying that doubt or taking that doubt and becoming overconfident, it's always better to inquire. And that's why we need to research. We all know during COVID times, we saw research is equal to progress. Had they not researched enough, we wouldn't have seen the light of this day, most of us. We wouldn't have got the vaccines, things wouldn't have opened up on their own. I am sure all of you agree with this, isn't it? That it was the hard work and dedication of the scientists of our Poonawalla group. They all came up with these vaccines, they quickly administered it, and the things opened up quickly. So research is also equated to progress. It helps in decision making. So I think Shantanu rightly said it. It helps us to come to a decision, whether it is individual, as we saw in the first case, whether government, if government has to launch a policy, if government has to decide on, say, launch a policy for all the NGOs, what is a new policy going to be for NGOs or social enterprises, or how should startup works? Or these days, government is working a lot on the privacy of data. If they have to come up with this, they need to have, it needs to be backed with evidence. It needs to be backed with some data. And that's why we need research. Businesses need research like anything. All of you are going to be a part of some or the other research process, directly or indirectly, in the internships that you go, in the jobs that you take up, in the initial stages of your life, because that's what they need. They need to have more information. These days, you would say that, okay, we have artificial intelligence, we have ChatGPT, you could get information on that. But what about the feet on field? Marketing, sales, all of them require feet on field. You just cannot ask ChatGPT that, okay, I hope you all are familiar with Pune city. On Sihangarh Road, if I open up a store, how much is it going to be sales? ChatGPT cannot give me that answer. I need feet on field. I need to see, I need to research and see which location, where in Sihangarh Road is the crowd larger, which kind of crowd is there. So all of that requires you to research. And finally, the society. Society also requires a lot of research for various social issues. You have issues related to crime, you have issues related to domestic violence, you have issues related to drugs and stuff like that. All of that needs to be researched to come up with some policy framing frameworks. To recommend something to the government, you need to have something concrete in your hand. You just cannot go and approach and say that, oh, I feel this is not right. For example, were you all aware of the river development that is going to happen in Pune city? They want to cut a number of trees, and so all of the citizens protested. So for this government to take up a decision, for the Green Tribunal to understand that let's have a stay on this, they needed a lot of evidences, they needed a lot of data, which research and the various NGOs and the other bodies procured and solved that problem. And in management, as Deepika rightly said, you need research for new product development. Are you going to come up with a new product? Who are going to be the takers of this new product? Where are you planning to launch it? How are you going to position the product? How is going to be the supply chain? How are going to be the pricing based decisions? All of this require research. So I hope by now the importance, relevance, and the understanding of research is clear. Is it clear? Any doubts in this?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Application of research in business. How are you going to apply this in the business domain? Right. Now, when I talked about business, this is what I was intending to all of you. When I say research, it is not just limited to the marketing. Marketing, it is because it is seen, it is, you could understand it better when I say product, when I talk about SKUs, but even in your HRM, you need to measure the performance of the employees working under you. You need to analyze the leadership styles, how different leaders have different leadership styles. How are you going to select employees? How are you going to retain those employees? What are the various strategies? What are the trainings that you're giving the employees by which they'll be retained? Isn't it? All of this requires research in the organization. It just doesn't happen. People just don't keep working in an organization day after day, day after day, keep getting promotions. To base the decision of promotions, you need to have some facts. It needs to be researched again. What is it that you did for a whole period of time, a whole year, benchmark it with somebody else? What were the lacunas? Isn't it? That's where the research in HRM would come into play. Finance, I'm sure there are experts like Deepika, Shantanu who would say that, yeah, asset pricing, capital markets, derivatives, your interest rates, all this econometrics, all of these require your research. Finance is a highly research oriented field. If today, as a naive person, as someone who doesn't know to invest in stocks and shares, I invest in mutual funds. Why do I do that? Because I'm sure they would research and channelize my money or my income in such a manner that I get the maximum returns. I need not be worried once I put my money in the mutual funds because I am not an expert. But how do mutual funds work on? They do a lot of research. Last is your production and operations. A lot of it these days, with due to this omni-channel presence, how much should be in the brick and mortar store? How much should be online? How much should be through the e-commerce portal? All of that, should Amazon stock up its warehouses full, or should it stock up when the demand arrives? The supply chain, it's a big field these days, and the logistics is receiving a lot of attention in this era when you have this e-commerce blooming like anything in a tier 1 city or in an emerging economy like the country. So these are the applications of research in the various domains of your businesses. And I'm sure most of you have preferred finance, operations, HRM, and you'll come across some or the other of these research aspects once you're interning or into your live jobs. Let's understand now what are the objectives of research. We understood what was research, we defined research. We understood the relevance of it, how do businesses apply. Now we want to see what are the objectives of research. How is research going to help us in the what are the different ways in which research can help us? First is, if you need to gain a familiarity with the phenomena or to achieve new insights into something, you're going to need research. Now gain familiarity with the phenomena. For example, the people from HR, I'm sure we have HR specialization people here. Are they there? The work from home phenomena or the gig economy phenomena, if you have heard of it, have you heard of it, the gig economy? GIG, the gig economy, wherein you work part-time for a place, you work part-time in another place, and then you earn your revenue based on that. So these are all new phenomena. How is it that you're going to, whether these phenomena are successful or are they unsuccessful? Are you familiar with them? How are you going to know that? You're going to do the exploratory kind of research. You're going to go into the market. Just check out. You're going to explore the market because it's a new phenomenon. There haven't been historical studies based on this. There haven't been historical instances based on this, which you can refer in the literature and then come up with some insights. So if you want to gain, one of the objectives of the research is to gain familiarity with a new phenomenon. To portray the characteristics of a particular individual, situation, or group. Simple, our senses, the country senses, they just in the sense they just capture our individual characteristic, to which origin you belong to which ethnicity you belong to, what is your gender. They make no interpretations out of that. They just record it. That's we call the kind of research which deals with this phenomenon descriptive research. But this is also one of the research objectives. Just going to a particular place and finding what the people, what is the ethnicity of the people, which religion do they come from, which socioeconomic background do they come from, what are the characteristics of a particular population. Research helps us to identify that. To determine the frequency with which something happens. How frequently are accidents happening on the Mumbai-Pune Express Highway? How frequently are sunstrokes causing delays in the construction works that is being done here in Pune? All of this, you need to understand the frequency. During COVID times, how frequently people who traveled outside got the COVID infection and were responsible for spreading it to others. So research also helps us. One of the objectives of research is also to see the frequency with which something happens. The studies which deal with this kind of research are your diagnostic studies. To test the hypothesis, the causal relationship. Most of the time we end up doing this, cause and effect. What caused this? For example, now we are not getting rains in Pune as yet. They are saying it's all attributed to El Nino. The El Nino phenomena which is there, it is attributed to that. So what is causing this? The global warming, the number of constructions going up in Pune. So this is all heating the surface. So this is a causal relationship. Hypothesis testing, you use hypothesis for that. So basically these are all the objectives with which one tries to research. To gain familiarity, to understand the characteristics, to check the frequency, and to check the causal relationship. Any doubts in this?
I want to know more about hypothesis.
We'll know about it. This is just a beginning thing that I'm giving. Hypothesis, how are you going to build the hypothesis on? What is it that you're going to study? The cause and the effect. What is the cause? What is the effect? Are you just trying to study the correlation, or are you trying to study the regression, or what it is? But in this only I'm asking, like, we are not delving deeper into hypothesis as of now, but have you understood this? Okay, good. The rest of you? I can only see Deepika giving me a thumbs up, but I don't know about the rest of you. I hope you all are with me. I know it's Saturday and I know we are nearing the lunchtime. Right. So I have decided to break up this types of research into the business research into basic research and applied research. Basic research again, exploratory, conclusive. Conclusive research again into descriptive and causal. We'll now see in the subsequent slide, what does each of this mean? From the names, can you try to decipher something? What is basic research? What could be basic research, the fundamental research? Yes, what could be basic research? Any ideas into that?
Ma'am, please repeat your question.
My question is, what do you mean by basic research? Can you guess anything from just the names? Basic research, applied, exploratory, conclusive, descriptive. Can you just guess anything? What is basic research?
Basic research is like simply a research which we don't know and which we are curious to know about the thing. It can be related to anything, like our interest also, which we don't know, but we are curious to do that.
Very good. It's basic research. Basically, it does not take no particular problem for it. Yeah, who else is saying the answer? I just missed you, I think.
Any general research can be included in basic research.
Any general research. Now you have given me a question. What is any general research? Okay, what about applied then?
When we have a proper goal, and then we apply our regular knowledge and applications to finding the answers. Short answer.
Right. What most of you would end up doing on your summer internship project is nothing but your applied research. You have a problem, you would be required to seek a solution to that problem. That's nothing but your applied research. What is exploratory? From the name itself, let's try to gauge the literal meanings just from the names. In the subsequent slides, we'll see what is each of these. But as of now, let's try to gauge exploratory. What does exploratory mean? Explore.
We explore the uneven data and calculate it in the characteristics and characterize them
Correct. You are just
in
exploring.
proper manner.
You are very good, Chandru. You are just exploring the data, not even the data. You're just exploring the population. You're just seeing what can be got from this to streamline it to make it more conclusive or robust. Conclusive is
Where we can conclude about something.
data
Like, yeah,
gathered with the intention of concluding it. That's
yeah,
your
decision making where we find out.
correct. And again, here within conclusive, you have descriptive and causal, which we just saw. Descriptive is when you're just enumerating it. A classic example is your census. When you're just enumerating data, how many girls in a class, how many boys in a class, how many girls from Pune city, how many boys out of Pune city. That's nothing but your descriptive. And your causal is by. When you're seeking answer for the question by, that's your causal. Let's move on to the understanding of each of these. Let's define each of these research. So when I say basic or fundamental research, what is it? It is vast because you're trying to, going right to the root. It involves a lot of time. It is flexible. The study purpose is very big. It focuses on principles. You have a lot of theories, whether you're seeing whether those theories are able to resolve the problem that is in your hand. This is mostly a most of the scientific fields use this kind of research because it's a fundamental research. You have a lot of concepts associated with it. You're trying to see how are the samples evolving over a period of time? What is it that they have? How are they going to impact the earlier studies? So that's why it is wider in time period. And that's why it's a fundamental research, because then what you come up with has an application for a wider range of audience. It is not just limited to a particular company or to a particular situation. It has an application to a wider spectrum of audience. And that's why it is basic or fundamental research. If I come up with a new theorem in maths, if I come up with a new algorithm in computer science, it's going to be applicable to a large spectrum of people. That's nothing but your fundamental research. Next is your applied research. And as I think Shantanu only rightly mentioned, it focuses on the immediate results. If you are taken up by Eureka Forbes, or if you are picked up by, say, Ultratech Cement Company, and if they give you projects like how can Ultratech enter the tier 2 cities? Which are the new markets for Ultratech? Now, these are all goal-oriented. Your internship projects are 2 or 3 months, right? Not beyond that. So they're very specific goal-oriented. So in that specific period of time, what is the recommendations that you can give to the company? This is just an example that I'm giving, okay? I'm not saying these will be the projects, but this is just an example. They focus on solutions. Difference here being that the solutions are specific to the particular problem that was given to you. They cannot be generalized across. That's your applied research. Context and purpose. What the basic difference between basic research and applied research is in what context. Basic research is done in some context and applied is done with some purpose in mind. Are you all clear? Did you all understand at least the fundamental difference between both of these? When to use what is what I'm interested in you to know today. That when would you use which kind of research? Next is your Yes, good. Thanks, Deepika. Thanks for the emoji. Next is your exploratory research. It is done to resolve ambiguity. It is used to gain some deeper understanding. Now, every time to understand a new phenomena or every time to understand something new, I might not have the bandwidth or I might not have the feasibility to go and enumerate the population. In that case, I explore the population. I see what best can I get from the population that I have within, near me. We'll come to the example of this as we move on. But in exploratory research, it's used to resolve some ambiguity. You explore within the population that is available to you, that what are people's preferences, what are people's choices, how are they going ahead with choosing a particular object and not choosing one. That's your exploratory. You explore the field. Conclusive. You test, you authenticate. From the exploratory research, you get some variables. I'm sure all of you are aware of variables. What are variables? Are you all aware of variables, right? Which keep changing with the kind of situation, with the kind of research problem that you have. So a conclusive research is something which is based on the, after you explore the market, you understand what it is, you come up with some variables, and then you put them in a questionnaire form and you administrate to the audience. And that is nothing but your conclusive research, because you're going to get answers in black and white. You're going to get answers on a scale. You're going to get answers on a rank method, rank correlation method, and that's it will enable you to conclude the kind of research problem that you're trying to solve. Then you have descriptive research, which is nothing but elucidating the data, annual census survey of colleges, MBA colleges across the country. You're just surveying. It's a simple survey. How many are there? Number of particular participants, number of colleges. That's your descriptive. Causal, it checks the what, why. Why is this happening? It checks the effect of one variable over the other variables. They establish what and how. What was the phenomena and how did this phenomena occur? Why is it that we are seeing an increase in the temperature? Why is it that we are seeing increase in number of, say, girls, students enrolling for MBA program or engineering program? It's all causal research. Because there is more promotion for girl child to study, because there are more government schemes for girl child to study. That could be one of the reasons. So this is nothing but establishing the causal effect. The studies are mostly quantitative in nature and they require statistical testing. They require you, as I mentioned sometime back, they require to either do factor analysis to gauge some factors. They require to either do regression or correlation or logic regression, but they all require to do quantitative in nature. Quantitative is dealing with numbers. I hope you all are clear with that. Example is impact of remote working policies on employee retention. It's a classic causal case study. That will giving employees permission to work remotely retain them? Cause and effect. Let's see this more with an example. I'm sure your college has a cafeteria or a canteen or a juice store.
Yes.
है ना? अभी let the others also participate, please. I'm sure आप college में जाते हो ना college? वहाँ पे cafeteria, juice store, something or the other would be there, where you all hang out, where you all have snacks.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Good, good. So for hypothetical situation, I have assumed that your college has a juice store. Okay. Now your juice vendor is intending to come up with new variants of juices. Abhi garmi bahut ho rahi hai. There are different fruits like jamun and all that available. He's contemplating that all these years I have been giving them just 4 variants. Mossambi juice de raha hu, limbu sharbat de raha hu, watermelon de raha hu. I want to come up with something new variant. So how will he go about it? Kya karega wo? What should he be doing?
Firstly, he will choose what kind of means he will see the area that what people are interested. Then he will choose that how will be the juice or what will the quality. Then he will have a sample. Then
Good. Okay.
then he will have a sample. Then he will start those sample. Then he will see that which sample will be the most populated or most selling
Very
one.
good. Very
Then
good.
he will keep that selling. Then when that gets stable, he keep those in continue for those
He will introduce a new
particular area.
variant. Very good, Chandra.
Yeah.
Very good. Just as what I was expecting. He feels he should increase the product offering, but he isn't sure how to go about it. So what he'll first do, he'll conduct surveys. He'll first observe who all are the people who are regularly visiting his juice stores. He'll ask them to survey. Then he'll have opinion polls. Informally, he can always ask you guys and girls, right? That which is the juice that you flavor more? Or he can keep a record that whenever a group of students are coming, which is the juice are they preferring the most? So once he keep the record, he can also have opinion polls. He could use focus group discussions also. He could call you over for a juice meet and ask you that which all do you think are the flavors that your peers or your faculty or your other members would like to have. These are different methods he could come up with. After he comes up with it, after he gathers enough number of variables, he can make a conclusive questionnaire and then float it amongst all the stakeholders, the faculty members, the students, all of them. He could float the questionnaire and the responses that he receives from them would form a part of the new flavor that he would introduce. This was an example of exploratory. First, he'll explore the various avenues and then he'll conclude the research with his questionnaire. And as Shantanu rightly said, we'll also see by introducing a new flavor, exploring. Again, he's also exploring, right? By introducing a new flavor, he'll see what is the demand of that. What is the frequency with which people are preferring that? If people prefer in large numbers, the flavor continues. If it doesn't, he will cease having that flavor on the store. So once he does all of this, when he conducts surveys, opinion polls, focus group discussions, he will gather variables. After he gathers variables, he will put them in a questionnaire and conduct a proper survey and quantify these findings. That what is it that people decide their juice flavor on? So if I have to decide on which time of the day I should come up with what kind of juice, I'll only stock those kind of fruits with me, isn't it? So this was an example of an exploratory and a conclusive result. You explore the market, then you find the variables, and then you put them in a questionnaire or a survey format, and with which you come to the conclusive research. Was this clear to you to a limited extent at least? Yes. No answer is no doubt. So I am assuming all of you understood this very nicely. Right. We move to the descriptive research now. Let's see an example of descriptive research. I've taken you guys as an example only. Trends in 2022, last year. What were the fashion trends in India? If you're just studying that what does Indian youth like to wear? What is it that people like to usually wear? This is going to be an entirely descriptive research. If say a company like ABFRL, Aditya Birla Fashion Retail, who has stores like Pantaloons, who has stores like Lifestyle, if they wish to decide that, okay, what should we stock in what SKUs should we have in our stores? They just need a descriptive research. They just need to enumerate how many girls like to wear one piece, how many boys like to wear fancy shirts, how many of them like to wear linen. So this is nothing but an example of your descriptive research in business. They just need to enumerate. They just need to see how much of this. It is not on why, it is just only on enumerating how many. How many of them like to wear the quads, or how many of them like to wear skirts, to decide the trends of the next year. So this was an example of the descriptive research. Causal research. As I told you, we are seeing a lot of global warming. We are seeing a lot of deforestation being done. So rising skyscrapers, do they cause climate change? If I need to study a phenomena like this, I will have to use a causal research, wherein I'll have to study if the number of skyscrapers going up and its impact on the climate change. This is too far-fetched research. A simple would be, does work from home enhance employee productivity? If I allow people to work from home, will it make them more productive? So you have a cause and you have an effect. When you have studies of these kind, you mostly indulge into causal research. And most of the management research is to do with causal. If I increase my number of ads per second during IPL, is it going to bring more customers to my store? Isn't it? IPL, I'm sure all of you would have watched. Or at least reply to this IPL to देखते होंगे आप? या नहीं देखते हो? Yeah, no response. IPL, तो IPL के बीच में ads भी तो आती है ना?
Yes, आती है.
Correct. So is that going to increase the footfall in the store? If I have to do that, if a company wants to understand that, it will involve nothing in but causal research. So this was a different types of research, different kinds of research that we saw. Now we'll just have an overview of how does the research process go on. And I'm sure most of you will come across this when you have a hands-on experience, when you are working in a real-time situation. It sounds very simple now. I'm sure all of you would have understood that, yeah, descriptive mein kya hai, causal mein kya difference. It's nothing complicated, it's very simple. The confusion starts when you get into hands-on, that, okay, am I actually required to be descriptive or am I required to do a causal part of it? But that comes when you come into the life situation. For as of now, let us understand what is the research process. The most important aspect, very dear to my heart, is research problem. If you are able to define your problem clearly, half of your work is done. Once you have a clarity of your problem, the kind of research that you're going to use, the kind of technique that you're going to use, Whether it is going to be qualitative, whether it's going to be quantitative, what kind of software are you going to use, it's extremely clear once your research problem is defined well. Next is you want to formulate research hypothesis. You formulate research hypothesis when you are doing the empirical testing of data, when you have quantitative data with you. When you have qualitative data, when you are interviewing people, when you are taking focus group discussions, when there is a lot of written content, verbal content, you have research propositions. You wouldn't call them hypotheses, you would call them propositions. Next is you would develop a research proposal. How are you going to go about the research? What are the kind of steps that you're going to take? The design, most important part again, what is going to be your sample size? Where are you going to select the sample from? Who are going to be the respondents? How are you going to interview them? All of that has to come in your research design. Data collection plan. Are you going to collect it online? Are you going to interview them? Are you going to collect it offline? Are you going to just observe? I hope most of you have seen the mystery shoppers who sit in the malls. Their work is just to observe how people come in the malls, how do they shop, whether they really pick up the bottle which is up high on the last aisle, or do they pick up something from the bottom. So how are you planning to collect the data? How are you going to clean the data? What are the techniques that you're going to use to clean the data, and how are you going to prepare the data for further processing, analysis and interpretations. These days, this has become very simple, the analysis part, because you have a multiple number of softwares. You need to be very sure what is it that you want to squeeze the data for and get the right extract from it. And lastly is your research report. This was the research process. I hope this was clear. Yes, class, was this clear? Did you understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, what are the features of a good research study? How would you say that a research study is good? What would you look into it when you are designing a research study? As I mentioned to you earlier also, the relevance of a clearly stated purpose can never be overlooked. You need to be extremely clear what are you trying to research on. Very, very specific. Am I trying to research on the people who are affected? Let me take an example from the social science. We are in the management domain. Management is nothing but a social science domain. Let me give you a simple example of studying social enterprises, which are nothing but your NGOs. Okay. So if I am trying to conduct a research on understanding the number of NGOs which work in the environmental sector in the city of Pune, I want to study the performance of the NGOs which are in the environmental sector, water, air, and soil. These three classify the environment, isn't it? So my purpose is very, very clear. I'm only going to study the NGOs. I'm only going to study the NGOs. Remember that. I'm not studying the companies or the public sector units, only NGOs. Dealing with environmental sector. Within environment, I have classified soil, air, and water as my three aspects on which I want to conduct a study. So the purpose has to be extremely clear. Systematic and detailed investigation plan. How do I plan to study these NGOs? Do I plan to go to them personally? Do I plan to approach the owners, or not? I wouldn't call them owners, or the founders of these NGOs? Do I plan to study the people who work for these NGOs? Do I wish to study the advocacy groups? I need to have a detailed investigation plan of all of this. How am I going to select the samples? Now, if I am saying to me environment constitutes of soil, air, and water, I need to select people, or I need to select NGOs which work in sewage treatment, which work in clean air, which work in doing something which pollutes the soil less. I cannot have respondents who are from the energy sector, because that's a different sector. So your selection of samples has to be crystal clear. This comes when your objective is very, very clear. Again, as we saw in the definition of management research, it needs to be unbiased, objective, and neutral presentation of results. Just because I like a political party, I like a particular politician, I cannot say my results are in favor of what all the schemes that they have done in terms of air, water, and soil. The result needs to be unbiased. If nothing has been done, I need to report that nothing is done. If the responses have not indicated anything, you need to report that also. No response is also an observation in a study. You just cannot say that people didn't respond and that's why I did not report it only. No, no response is also in the sense you have to report that. Maintaining highest ethical standards. I cannot conduct a research study without the permission of my respondents. I just cannot assume that just because I'm giving you a good lecture, if I float a survey of my interest, or if I say that, okay, some of you come into this and I'm going to have some experiments with you, I just cannot do that. I need to have the highest ethical standards. You need to permit me to take the data. You need to be willingly ready to give me. I cannot coerce you. I cannot put you on gunpoint and say, are you going to give me this data or you want me to do something else? You need to maintain the highest ethical standards. And then the replicability. You do not do a research study except for applied research wherein the studies are only suited to solve an organization's problem. The research has to be replicable. The same kind of research should have been used in different geographical areas or in different populations. Only then it's a good research study. Otherwise, if it's only applicable for one particular instance, I wouldn't say it is a bad research study, but then it's only situational. It's only contextual, only for that particular situation or for that particular problem for which you are given to solve. I hope this is clear to you. I think we have exceeded the time. Harshali ma'am, have we exceeded the time?
Yes, ma'am.
This is the last slide now. I just had one small activity for these people, but if they have exceeded the time, they can do this activity later. This was the activity. You choose a sector of your choice, FMCG, automobile, anything. You choose a company of your choice also. Procter & Gamble, Wipro, Tata Motors. And as per your knowledge, what do you think could be their problems? Within that sector, within that company of your choice, if you say take Tata Motors, what do you think would be their problems as of now? Which you read in the newspapers or which you feel through your knowledge of reading about that company, knowing more about that company could be. Form some research questions or statements that you feel the company would like to solve. And what kind of research would suit? Would you use a descriptive? Would you use a causal? Would you use exploratory and conclusive? Or would you just stick to normal, your descriptive part of it? Whichever is the research type of research you would like to use, you just need to come up with this. So that was all that I had from my side, class. I hope you gained something from this, but I would recommend you please do this exercise for two reasons. One reason would be this would also help you to approach the company and tell them that, see, from the literature that we have surveyed, we think that this is going to be your problem. And I guarantee you, no company is going to ignore that. They need people who can tell them that, okay, this is where you're going wrong. And if you are there to solve their problem, why would they not take you in? Isn't it? So, okay. Thank you, Dr. Harshali. This was it. This was my last slide. I'll stop sharing now and I'll share the entire slide deck with you, man. Any doubts, any queries?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Such a wonderful session you have conducted. And I hope all students just understand what is the research methodology. So it's helped them for their SIP, because after that the exam is going, internal exam is going on. So after that, they're really, really helpful. What are the research, how they will just make their objectives, and how whatever the research aspect you have present in front of them, like basic research, exploratory research, and all. So I hope they all understand. Yes, students, would you like to ask any question for ma'am? And whatever the activity ma'am just share with you, please solve, all of you.
I'll share the slides with ma'am, with Harshali ma'am. You could share it with the students so that the activities with them and even the slides are with them.
Yes. So
any doubts
so
for anybody, or we can log off?
For giving us your precious time in your
Thank you so much, Harshali ma'am, for giving this opportunity.
You are too busy. Yes, you are in. You spent a lot of time for your research and all. So Deepali ma'am just give me your reference, and I just ask you. And
right, thank you so much. Right, it was nice interacting with your students. Yes. Thank you so much again, Harshali ma'am. So yes. Yes, thank you.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Sir, would you like to share feedback form to students?
Yes, ma'am. Already I said.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Sir.
So I can log out, right, Harshali ma'am?
Yes, yes. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Have a good day, ma'am.
Bye.
Yes.
Good day, you too.